This Day in Sports History. Are you a hockey fan? Then you'll love Eric Zweig's new book, Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2. It's a treasure trove of untold tales, bizarre incidents, and captivating trivia that will leave even the most devoted puckhead astounded. The intense rivalries, epic showdowns, and historic clashes that shaped the NHL's early years, it's all in there. Zweig uncovers the true stories that helped shape the sport, ensuring that you will never look at hockey the same way again. Check out Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2 on Amazon or wherever fine books are sold. It's another day and another This Day in Sports History, a member of the Sports History Network. You can find more podcasts and more info at sportshistorynetwork.com. It's November 5th, and this seems to be a day for oddities, which is fine. We like odd things here on this podcast. But let's start with what happened on this day in 1946, when Chuck Connors became the first professional basketball player to break a backboard. So the oddity here is not that Chuck Connors became the first, because there were a lot of firsts on this day. This was the home opener for the Boston Celtics in the brand new league, the Basketball Association of America. The NBA wouldn't be a thing for 3 more years when the BAA and the NBL merged. Connors' Celtics were hosting the Chicago Stags. So how did Connors break the backboard? Was it a high-flying windmill jam? How about a toss off the backboard, pull it behind the head, and then give it the old rim rocker tomahawk treatment? No. He probably could dunk with 2 hands. He was 6 feet 7 inches, but those dunks wouldn't be coming for quite some time. Instead, Connors was the first out to warm up for this game, and he pulled the trigger on a 15-foot jumper that hit the front of the rim, and the backboard exploded, sending tiny shards of glass everywhere. Apparently, the rim had simply not been properly installed. Now, that happens today, and the fix takes about, 10 minutes max? Well, first year of the league, no spares at the Boston Arena, where the Celtics played in '46, and so the search was on. Celtics publicist Howie McHugh was able to track down a replacement at the Boston Garden, the future home of the Celtics. They were about 2.5 miles away, though. McHugh went to get the goal but ran into another problem. Gene Autry's circus was in town for an upcoming show at the Garden. The goal was in a pen with the show's bull. It took a couple of bucks for McHugh to bribe 2 cowboys to go retrieve it for him and put it in the back of his truck. It took a while, and the game started a little late. The Stags got 28 points from Max Zaslavsky on the way to a 57-55 win over the Celtics. The Rifleman Chuck Connors had 8 points. But at least Celtics coach John Honey Russell had a built-in excuse for the loss, right? They had a hard time finding the basket. Our guys shot so bad they broke the backboard. The guys misunderstood when I said, fast break. Okay, I'll stop. Anyway, Connors would not break any more backboards in his career. He played just over 2 years in the BAA, left to play professional baseball, first with the Brooklyn Dodgers and then the Chicago Cubs, before becoming a television and movie star, with his most notable role of Lucas McCain in the 6-year run of The Rifleman. For this one, let's go back to last year when Houston Texans running back Dare Ogunbowale kicked a 29-yard field goal. The Texans were playing at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Texans trailed 17 at half, but they had a little bit bigger problem. Their kicker, Kaimi Fairbairn, had injured his quad muscle in the first half, and he was not going to be able to come back for the second half. So they started looking around for somebody who could kick. NFL teams carry a 53-man active roster, but only 48 players are active on game day. Punter Cam Johnston was the holder on place kick, so he wasn't the option. So they turned to reserve running back Dare Ogunbowale. Ogunbowale was born in the U.S., but he has Nigerian parents, and soccer was a big part of his life growing up. He handled kickoffs in the second half, but when a Texan drive stalled at the 12-yard line in the fourth quarter with the score tied at 30, they turned to Ogunbowale to come through. So the Texans had scored 3 touchdowns in the second half already, and they had gone for 2 each time instead of sending Ogunbowale out to kick the PAT. Now granted, the NFL PAT is now 33 yards, so this field goal attempt was shorter than the one-pointer he would have tried for an after-touchdown try. But still, he is coming in a little cold. Of course, he nailed it, and it wasn't a line drive just over the bar either. It was a legit kick. And with the successful attempt, Ogunbowale became the first non-kicker to make a field goal in an NFL game since 2004 when Wes Welker stepped in to kick for the Miami Dolphins. On this day in 2000, Aeneas Williams returned a fumble 104 yards for a touchdown. There wasn't a whole lot to cheer about if you were an Arizona Cardinals fan back in 2000. Coming into this game with Washington, the Cardinals were 2-6. But at least Arizona fans had a reason to cheer in the first quarter when Washington running back Stephen Davis coughed up the football on the goal line, and Aeneas Williams was in the right place at the right time. Well, there was probably somebody who originally just wanted him to fall on the ball for a touchback, but he scooped it up 4 yards into the end zone, and he started to run. The only guy who had a legitimate chance to bring him down was an official, who happened to get in his way as he was heading out of the end zone. Williams went the rest of the way untouched for a 104-yard scoop and score, which tied a 26-year-old NFL record that was held by Oakland Raider Jack Tatum. This episode is brought to you by Sterling Soap Company. Fellas, you've heard the phrase, look good, feel good, right? But why not add smell good to that too? That's where Sterling Soap Company comes in. First, Sterling Soap is 100% natural and has a wide variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, and cologne. Second, there's a scent just for you. How about burgundy? Yeah, it's more than a color. The Sterling Soap folks blend natural essential oils with hints of mahogany, golden amber, and sandalwood. Or how about D503, an intensely masculine scent inspired by Legend by Mont Blanc. And third, you will feel good about the price. For just a little more than you'd pay at the grocery store, Sterling Soap will leave you feeling clean, refreshed, and ready for whatever's next. Give Sterling Soap a try today. Visit sterlingsoap.com. On to baseball now, and a rather odd trade that happened on this day in 1976. The Oakland Athletics needed a catcher, but who should they offer in return? How about their manager, Chuck Tanner? Done deal. The Pirates were without a manager after Danny Murtaugh had retired following the '76 season. The A's sent Tanner to the Pittsburgh Pirates for catcher Manny Sanguillen, and they threw in $100,000 as well. The deal actually turned out great for Pittsburgh. Tanner spent the next 10 years with the Pirates and managed them to the World Series win in 1979. Sanguillen was in Oakland for only 1 season, and then he went back to Pittsburgh to play the final 3 years of his career. The trade on this day was just the second time in Major League history that a manager was traded for a player. The New York Mets traded pitcher Bill Dennehy to the Washington Senators for Gil Hodges in 1967. Of course, that one turned out pretty well for the Mets as well. And it's kinda sorta happened twice since '76. Lou Piniella in 2002 was a little different. Players were exchanged between Seattle and Tampa Bay as compensation for Lou going from the Pacific Northwest to the Gulf Coast. And in 2011, Ozzie Guillen went from Chicago to the Florida Marlins to manage. The Marlins compensated with 2 players. And in 1994, it was George Foreman, at 46 years old, not only stepping into the ring in a heavyweight title fight with Michael Moorer, but winning. Nobody gave Foreman any shot to win this fight. He was older and slower, and only in the ring because Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, and Tommy Morrison were not available to fight. Foreman had lost his previous 2 fights, first to Holyfield and then to Morrison. At 35-0, Moorer was the heavy favorite. Not only was he undefeated, he was 19 years younger. Foreman had not been the heavyweight champion since losing to Muhammad Ali in 1974. He did step into the ring this night wearing the same orange trunks that he'd worn in the Rumble in the Jungle fight against Ali in '74. Moorer started pounding on Foreman to start this fight off, and through 9 rounds, Moorer was leading on everybody's scorecard. But in the 10th, a rejuvenated Foreman started throwing some haymakers, and after connecting one to Moorer's jaw, the champ was put on the canvas and could not beat the 10 count. Foreman became the oldest heavyweight champion and also became the guy who'd gone the longest between heavyweight titles. He would not be the champ for too long, though, but with 1994 also being the year that the George Foreman grill debuted, he really didn't need to fight much more anyway. And since we did a whole episode of Odd Things, it makes sense that I do a strange, non-sports Did You Know? The most successful pirate was a Chinese woman named Qing Shi, though she went by other names as well. At the height of her power on the high seas, Qing commanded the Red Flag fleet of 300 ships and about 40,000 men. She actually retired at 35 and lived out the remainder of her life quietly and died a natural death in 1844 at the age of 69. That's all I've got for you today. Come on back tomorrow for another edition of This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.